Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to the long-awaited, or maybe not, review of my first year of university. So I, if you don't know, go to Cambridge University. I study medicine and I have just finished my first year. I say just, I haven't just finished. I finished quite a while ago. I'm just getting around to filming this video. But yeah, I thought that I'd just sit down and talk about my experience of first year, you know, the good, the inevitably bad and the ugly, and just do some explaining because there are things that I wanted to talk about that I haven't in my vlogs. If you haven't seen my university vlogs, I will link the playlist in the description box for some context. But yeah, there are things that I've wanted to talk about that I just haven't, and I thought that this video was the perfect one to explain some stuff in. So yeah, I hope you find this video somewhat informative or entertaining, and without further ado, let's get straight into the video. First things first, I just wanted to like clear some things up, explain some things, and that's mostly negative things. So I think I'm going to start this video off with like the downsides of my first year and like struggles, all that kind of stuff. There will obviously be positives in the latter half of this video, but I think I'm firstly going to start off talking about what didn't go so well this year. I just want to be really like real and honest, and I actually want to give an accurate representation of how I found my first year, and I think I have been doing that through my vlogs. Like, I don't pretend like everything's okay when it's not, and I don't think you should when you have like an online platform, even as small as mine is, just because people already have a perception of Cambridge that it's this like crazy amazing place where everyone's really like fancy and it's super prestigious. And I got a comment basically on one of my videos that was saying that something along the lines of, I come here to watch Magda take the glamour out of being a Cambridge student. And like, honestly, it wasn't really like personally hurtful. I don't know whether it was a joke or not, like, I don't know. But I know that this is probably a perception that a lot of people have, that like being at Cambridge and being a student here is so like glamorous and amazing. And honestly, like, I don't want anyone to take this the wrong way. I know that I am so lucky to be here, and so is everyone else. Like, we all know that we're really lucky. It is really like a privilege that I'm able to study at Cambridge, but by the same token, it's nowhere near like glamorous. And it's no more glamorous, I would say, than studying at any other university. It's a normal university. Like, the people that go here for the most part are normal people. Like, there are people that go out loads, there are people that do really stupid things, but there are also people who obviously study really hard and really intelligent people here. And I think that's a mix that you get anywhere you go. It's not like people at Cambridge are just like a different breed of human. Cambridge as an institution obviously has its downsides, and there are several. Like, there are so many people here who struggle, who have mental breakdowns, develop like mental health problems, and I don't think that that can be called glamorous in any way. And yes, there are people who thrive, but for the most part, like, it is such a stressful environment for the majority of people. I know that my vlogs are very like open with regards to like my struggles, but a lot of other people were also struggling. Like, it's not just me. Many other people were probably going through similar things that I was going through, and I know of several other people who also didn't really find first year like a completely smooth ride, and who didn't really have the best of times. I don't think that I'm taking the glamour out of being a student at Cambridge, if you get me. Like, there are ups and there are also downs, as with every university. So, but now on to the real tea. This year, okay, so it wasn't a good year. I really was not doing well mentally, physically, and emotionally, I'd say. It really has been a tough year, and I know that I have made many mistakes, some of which I will touch on in this video. throughout this year, but it's also like circumstances that I couldn't control played into that as well. I know that if you've been watching me since A-level, you might be wondering, and I would be too, like, what happened? At A-level, I was so extremely like on it. I was down to work, extremely like focused, motivated, driven, and this year I have been really quite far from that. Well, firstly, I have recently made a video about this, but burnout. If you want to watch that video, I will put it in the information cards. It's similar to this, it's just like an honest chat about academic burnout, and I do believe that I burnt myself out at A-level like a lot. I thought that the summer was going to be, you know, a good break between like year 13 and university. I thought that it was enough, I was just going to chill, relax, but by the time university came around, I was so out of love, I think, with academia, because I had just literally spent my whole entire life focusing on it for the past like probably 3 years or 4 even, because my GCSEs, like, I also worked very hard for those as well, and so I think this year has really been a battle with myself, because I am still like, I still want to achieve, and obviously I worked my butt off to get here to do medicine at Cambridge, and I still want to obviously finish it. I want to be a doctor and stuff like that, and like inherently I think I am a hardworking person. I want to get the best grades that I can, but the other side of me was like, I'm so tired, I'm so done, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I had spent 2 years solidly just basically doing nothing but revising, and I had a job, and that was basically it for a whole 2 years. I revised to the point where I didn't even want to revise anymore. I didn't want to do any work, and quite honestly, like, I did think about quitting multiple times throughout this year. I was just like, do I even want to be in education anymore? Because I'm not taking advantage of like the position that I'm in, being able to study here. I can't even be bothered to make myself study, so like, is there any point of me being here anymore? And that was quite hard, I think, like mentally, even subconsciously, just because my whole life I have been a very academic person, and I love education and I love learning, and to be in that position was hard, and it caused a lot of stress, a lot of like breakdowns, and it just wasn't fun. And besides that, you will know that I have basically been ill for the majority of this whole year. I think first term and second term, I was ill probably 90% of the time with like a cold. And obviously that didn't help, and I've received quite a few kind of negative, I guess, comments about like my lifestyle and how I'm doing things wrong, and some of them really did get to me, obviously, and I just wanted to like explain once and for all, like on a video. Yes, I know I got sick all the time, but I take medicine that is an immunosuppressant for my chronic condition that I've had since I was like 6. So like I'm so much more susceptible to getting ill. And speaking of that medicine, I know that I said I was tired basically in every single clip of every single vlog, and that is true. Also, that medication, it makes you tired. I was on the highest dose when I went to university that I can possibly get of that medication, and it makes you tired. It's a fact, apparently, according to the nurses. And besides that, anemia. I have anemia, and it was, I think, at the end of Lent term, it was like the worst that it had been since I first got it. I'm hoping that some of these will be resolved by next year. Like, I really hope that this year has been enough to like kick me back into drive, motivation, you know, that kind of stuff, and I'm getting lower doses of medication. Hopefully my anemia will sort itself out. I think next year I might be able to look a lot more like objectively at, okay, so how is this year going? Like, how is actually studying properly at Cambridge? Like, what is that like? Because this year has really been like testing, but in personal ways. And also because of these issues, I really did not do as much work as other people did, and as I think I expected to. Like, I definitely worked less this year than I did at A-level, which I never thought in a million years I would say that, but it's the truth, and I'm not happy about it, but like, it's done. I can't really change it. So besides the issues of like tiredness, low motivation, that kind of stuff, which played a large role in my life this year, but leaving that aside, initially I found uni very hard, and I don't think it's necessarily a Cambridge thing. Like, I just found university very hard to adapt to, because I have realised this year actually that I need to be around people. I have a very hard time when I'm by myself, apparently. And I think whilst university, obviously there are so many people around you all the time, it can also be very, very isolating and very lonely. And so throughout the year that was an issue. Like, I went through periods where I literally felt so extremely lonely. But besides that, I think the hardest bit was the start of term, the start of first term, because I was obviously like left by my parents alone. I had no friends initially, obviously, and I have a hard time making friends. It's not a new like revelation to me, it's always been that way. I just find it hard to like open up to people straight away, and it takes me a while to like get comfortable enough with someone. But at university it was so much harder because I had no one else there. Like, my parents weren't there to come home to every day. And it's completely different to school, because at school you're constantly surrounded by people. Like, you've got your friends, you've got your classes, and like, you're constantly with people all day. Whereas at uni it's just lectures, and you don't really talk to people in lectures because it's a lecture. And that really made the start of the year like a tough time for me, just because I was worried that I wasn't gonna make any friends. I was just feeling very alone and crying mostly. But yeah, that's kind of that side of my experience. And kind of following on from that, it's a large adjustment going to university. I found, not just on the friends side, just generally, like even on the academic side, it is a huge change. So you have to get used to a completely different method of teaching, because it's completely different from school, and it's just like a big slap in the face really, because you've never done it before. And obviously everyone's in the same boat, but people adapt at different rates, you know? And you have got to completely rethink how you revise, how you make your notes, because things don't work the same as they did at A-level. Like, the way I made my notes at A-level, I couldn't do anymore at uni. There was just too much content. And really the whole of first year was a learning curve, which the second years did tell us like is basically all like learning how to function at university. I pretty much spent the whole of the year like experimenting with different note-taking methods, because obviously there are different ways that you can make notes from lectures, and some might work and some might not for you. And there are different ways of making revision notes, and there are different ways of trying to memorize stuff, and it's just, you've got to basically experiment in first year with how you're going to do things for the rest of your time at university. And again, that makes it really quite difficult, because I was used to like knowing exactly how I was going to do things, what I was doing. Like, I basically had everything under control, and that's what I think this comes down to. And really for me it took me all year, because I still wasn't happy with the way I was making notes in lectures, and I'm gonna try something new next term and see if that works. So really it's still a learning curve. And yeah, there's other things also, like so much more independence. You literally have to make yourself do everything, and it's not like in school where you have this kind of pressure like, oh, I need to get this done for this teacher. No one's really gonna, like, your supervisors could get angry at you, whatever, your DOS, but realistically you're not doing it for them, it's your degree. They have no like investment within your degree, so you're doing it for yourself. And I thought I did that at A-level, but I think I did to some extent, but I think there was also the pressure of, oh, I have to do really well because everyone expects me to, and oh, I have to get these grades because I've got to get into this university. And at uni, where there were no expectations anymore, because no one really knew me, and where there's a lot less like external pressure, in my experience, for you having to like do the work, do the revision or whatever, it was often a struggle to get myself to do something. On the topic of work, it is tough. Like, obviously it's Cambridge, it's hard. It was really to be expected, but there is so much content, or at least in my experience for medicine, so much content that you have to learn, like an unbelievable amount of stuff that you need to memorize and have learned. So many contact hours comparatively to other degrees. And the work itself, like, it's not easy. Like, it's not easy to understand, and there's so much like pressure and stress. And I know that I just said that there's like less external pressure or whatever, but I think there's like, it's just like a very high pressure environment. Everyone's like stressing themselves out and stressing each other out. It's not pressure in the sense that, like, for example, oh, your supervisor wants you to get this mark and like that's why you feel like you're under pressure. You kind of put the pressure on yourself and compare yourself to other people. It is so common. It's sometimes just very overwhelming and a very hard environment to be in, I've noticed. And they do ask a lot of you, like the hours that you need to work are massive, and I think I can't really attest to this as much as someone else could, because I know that I didn't work the hours that I was supposed to. But I've seen other people who did, and it just, like, it's stress. 2 or 3 essays a week, plus like all the contact hours that we have, like lab reports sometimes, actually trying to like learn some of the content or make revision resources or something. Like, it is a lot, and you literally just can't get it all done. And that's another thing, actually. It's a large transition moving to university, because you have to leave like the A-level ideas behind, and it's hard to do that. So for example, at A-level you would learn the whole syllabus. You had a syllabus for starters, you would learn it all, and you would be like, okay, I know it all, I've gone through all the points, like I've learned it all, this is all like the material that I have to know, and it's all in my brain. Whereas at uni, for my course at least, there is too much material to be able to cover it all. You are not going to know everything, and the level of detail that they want you to know is so nitty-gritty, and it's just, you literally cannot learn everything. And number one, that's hard to accept, and it's also stressful because you then have to choose what you actually want to learn, which is in itself a bit stressful, because it's like, what if I'm learning the wrong thing? But also it kind of goes against everything that you did at A-level, and it kind of adds this factor of like, I feel like I'm doing something really wrong, and it's really not fun knowing that you cannot learn everything and knowing that you can't have that security. Because I think at A-level I knew that I had learned everything, whereas at university you know that you cannot learn everything, and you know that you don't know everything, and there is no way that you're going to learn everything, and you're not going to reach that level of like security and comfort. Like, you're constantly treading water. And I have had my fair share of mental breakdowns this year, because it was hard. Like, it really, at some points I just didn't want to do it anymore. I thought about intermitting multiple times, just because I was like, I'm not even making the most of first year. I'm gonna fail it, like why should I may as well just redo it. Obviously, you know from my vlogs that sometimes like my mental health was really not in, it wasn't just non-existent. And there was stuff that like I didn't film, but there was a weekend I remember very clearly that I just cried. Like the whole weekend, I would just sit on my floor and cry for like half an hour, and then I would sort myself out, and then 10 minutes later I'd be crying again, and I literally didn't even know why. After that lovely story, I thought I'd talk a bit about some of my like regrets from this year and stuff that I wish I'd done differently and that kind of side of my experience. So firstly, I did not set myself a goal, and I think that this is one of many places where I went wrong. So at GCSE, I had a goal of like, I want to get all A stars. At A level, I had a goal of like, I need to get these grades, and realistically, like I wanted all A stars. Whereas for this year, I told myself like, I don't want to put myself under that kind of pressure. I don't want to set myself like a target, because I know that I'm very hard on myself, and I didn't want that kind of pressure from myself to like get a specific grade. So I told myself, no, you're not going to set yourself a goal or an aim to work towards this year. You're just going to like go with the flow. I feel like that was a mistake, because again, learning things about myself, I feel like I'm very goal driven and I work towards things, and so not having anything to work towards, I was just like, whatever. Whereas usually like I had that goal and I had like the thing that I wanted and I was gonna work for it. So next year I'm definitely like setting myself a goal of what I want, and I'm gonna try and make it realistic and achievable, but I also want to like try and push myself a bit. I also, as you would know, did not make sleep a priority until Easter term. Easter term, I made sure sometimes, mostly, that I was getting enough sleep. Obviously, when exams came very close, it all kind of fell apart, but before that, for like the 4 weeks or so, I was really like trying to get my sleep, and it worked out because I was revising more. I had a bit more energy, let's say, and it clearly like helped because I somehow managed to like actually pass. There was like a week, I can't remember which term it was in, but where I averaged like a solid 3 hours of sleep that week, and it was just not a good idea. Another thing that I need to fix for next year is my diet, because again, Easter was okay, like the diet was okay, and parts of Lent term were also okay, but the rest of it, like I was just eating rubbish food. I would eat loads of toast. Not good, not good. And in Lent term, I went through a phase of just ordering loads of Deliveroo, which was extremely bad for my bank account, and also very unhealthy anyway. And yeah, we're just gonna work on that one because again, like I feel like diet, sleep, exercise, which I got, but like whatever, they all really impact obviously your general well-being anyway. So maybe we'll learn from this and we will sort it out for next year so we can have an overall better time, you know? And another regret with regards to like academics is that I didn't go to all of my lectures, which I followed the crowd basically. A lot of people from my college decided, like medics, decided that lectures weren't worth going to, and like I can see where they were coming from, I guess, because you can just go through the lecture handout by yourself, and sometimes it really wasn't that useful to go to the lecture. But I think that was a mistake for me, because there are still some lecture series that I literally don't know what's going on in them because I just didn't go to them and I couldn't get the same kind of understanding from the handout. If I had gone to all my lectures, I would have already known some details and I would already have a general gist of what was going on. So even by the end of the year when I had to like revise and cram, it would be so much easier if I had gone to the lectures than the position that I put myself in by not going, because for some of them I hadn't even like, I didn't catch up on them whilst I was not at the lecture. Like, I just wouldn't do it. And then by the end of the year I was like, well, now I have a whole lecture series that I haven't been to the lectures, I haven't looked through it, and now I need to learn it all. It meant that I didn't make the most of my supervisions because I didn't have any questions to ask, because I didn't know what was going on, and just generally, like, that is one of my largest regrets. So next year I'm really going to make an effort to go to as many of my lectures as I can. Finally, we can move on to the positives of this year, which we can start off by saying that Easter term was a lot better, which is kind of ironic because it was exam term, and like, yes, I did have my fair share of like breakdowns about exams and stress and that kind of stuff, but in general I felt a lot better. My work ethic was starting to come back. I was starting to have a bit of motivation to actually do something, and obviously that was probably because exams were looming, but it just made me happier in general. So if you're watching this and you're having a bad year, it will get better eventually, inevitably, and you just got to stick it out. And at the end of the day, I may have thought about quitting many times, but I don't think I ever would, because even though this year has been tough, there isn't anywhere else that I would want to be. Like, I have been working for this for such a large proportion of my life that I, number one, feel like I owe it to myself to like stick it out and really try to like fix this. And also, like, I don't want to be anywhere else. I like being at Cambridge, and I do feel like it is the place for me. Maybe it is the place for like me a year ago during A-levels, like that me, but we're hopefully going to get back to that me, you know? So I think eventually I will be content here. Speaking of liking Cambridge, it's honestly such a lovely place to study. Like, the town is beautiful. It's so small, well, small, like, it's comparatively small. It's really easy to get to most places. You can walk everywhere, you can cycle. It's just so pretty, and it's like a nice environment to be in whilst also being in like a complete stress hole. But yeah, the surroundings are very nice. The colleges are also pretty. I do like the collegiate system. It's like a little family. And speaking of colleges, Clare is the best one. If you're thinking of applying, come to Clare. I really am glad that I picked it. I do say a lot of the time, like, oh, I wish I went to this college, or I wish I applied to this college. But at the end of the day, like, I'm happy at Clare. It's such a nice college. It's really pretty. I'm just gonna say everything's really pretty. But besides that, like, I like the atmosphere and the vibe, because we're not very high on the little Tompkins, I think it is, table of like all the colleges, like, to do with academics. We're like middle-ish, and from listening to other people's experiences at different colleges and like how their colleges work, it is so much less stressful, or at least it was this year with the people that I had, like DOS and tutor and stuff. For example, like my DOS, which is Director of Studies, just told us all, like, I just want you to pass. Like, there was no pressure put on us, like, oh, you need to get a first or you need to get a 2-1. It was like, just pass, just do enough to pass, and if you get a first, obviously that's great. But I really like how in this like really high pressure environment that Cambridge is, at least there wasn't this pressure put on us by like our academic like Director of Studies and or our tutor. Because if I had had pressure on me, it really could have like broken me, to be honest, with hindsight. Clare is really like a very friendly place, and a very nice college, so I'm really glad that I applied there. So that's a positive from this year. Another thing about colleges, the college family system is great. Whoever thought of this, brilliant idea, because it has really like, it really helped me. My college parents were so lovely this year, and I only hope to be as nice as they were, but it's just so nice to have someone who has been through what you've been through, because they're like second years who have done your subject, and they can give you advice, help you out if you need it, and it's just someone to talk to. They would put like chocolate and little cute notes for me and my siblings in our pigeonholes a few times a term, I think. And it really is just like the little things, and knowing that there's someone there that you can go and talk to who understands you and is not like an academic, and you can literally just have an honest conversation with, is really nice. And again, it really depends on like your college parents and what they're like and whatnot, but I'm really lucky with mine that they were all so lovely. And finally, this is my last point. What could a video about first year be without mentioning rowing? It has been a large part of my life this year, and I'm just very glad that I actually started and I picked it up. Initially I thought like, oh, I'll just give it a go, whatever, but it has been a large part of my first year. As you know from the vlogs, I've done a lot of rowing, and really it has just kept me sane, or like semi-sane. It's obviously an opportunity to socialise, meet people that you wouldn't otherwise talk to or meet, but also, especially like in exam term, it really helped me de-stress and just not think about exams or revision for like the 2 hours that we were rowing, and just completely focus on something else. And it was really like an escape for me throughout this year, and I don't think I could have got through it without it. It's obviously also exercise, stopped me from getting fat because of my extremely bad diet, as I've previously mentioned. If you come to Cambridge, give rowing a go. It's such a nice thing to get yourself involved in, because the races are fun, the people you meet are great, and it's just such a nice sport to do. You can choose your commitment level, and the actual sport itself is very fun. Like, I really like being on the river, and it's like a nice little community, like your college boat club. Also, boat club dinners were a lot of fun. Like, at the end of each term you would have a dinner with your boat club, and those were always great. The food was really good, and yeah, all around rowing is just like a 10 out of 10. Get yourself involved, it's great. It really did help me this year, like mentally. And that, ladies and gents, concludes my video. So I know that there were probably a lot more like negatives in this video than positives, but it kind of reflects how I found this year. Like, there were some parts which were really great, but other parts that were really not so great. But yeah, I hope that you find this video interesting. If you want to, you can subscribe to my channel for more university content. I will continue to vlog next year, so you have that to look forward to. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Social medias are always in the description. And thank you very much for watching. I will see you in my next video. Bye!